Welcome to everybody who's joining us. I am extremely delighted to be with the army man who all of us are big fan of, and because of whom and because of sacrifices of the Indian Army that we are sitting here enjoying the freedom and enjoying it and happily talking to each other. I'm so delighted to also have it to be on the same panel with the senior journalist Bharatji, who has been a lone wolf warrior, I can say, in the state of Tamil Nadu, and he's always been the voice of nationalism in Tamil Nadu, and I'm very, very delighted. I am also very, I would say, humbled to be with one of very well-known faces, Vincent of from Tamil Nadu, who's used all of us here on politics, and also my dear friend Sriram, who's becoming very, very popular in the state of Tamil Nadu with his astute political analysis and who worked with us in the elections. And I'm very delighted to see him taking things forward. I am very, I would say that today all of us in the country are at a very, very critical moment and an inflection point in the journey of India. Two very important things have happened, and that those are something which are very critical. A, that for the first time yesterday, if you saw the Honorable Prime Minister announcing a very major thing, that or remembering the horrors of partition, that and today in the entire speech, as we celebrate 75 years of independence, we have women and girls also now given the entry to the Sainik schools, which is very historic at a time when it took. India was one of the only countries, in fact, the only country which gave women the voting rights at the time of independence as the constitution came into force. Compared that to Britishers and the Westerners who took years to give women equal rights. I think we as a society and as this entire civilization has always been progressive, and Tamil Nadu has always shown the way. But sadly, the past many years in Tamil Nadu, somehow it has been given an impression that nationalism and Tamil regional and Tamil identity are two poles apart, which is absolutely not the case. If people go down in history and read about Tamil culture, Tamil literature, and way Tamil Nadu had contributed to the Indian freedom struggle, they would come to a conclusion, and which is a very honest conclusion, that Tamil Nadu has been at the forefront of contributing to the Indian national movement. And this is what is the nationalist consciousness which should reach the every corner in Tamil Nadu. And I feel that this panel has been doing so and has been on it since long. Another point which is very, very important is that we've seen, I would say, host of politicians in the state of Tamil Nadu, which has always somehow created a natural habit of the political narrative in Tamil Nadu to not resonate with the nationalist narrative. And in the past many years, the Chakravyuh and sort has been built in the society of Tamil Nadu by the so-called intellectuals, by I would say opinion makers and certain neutral voices who have been party supporters from behind, but have always appeared to be neutral, intellectual, and these people have created a Chakravyuh in the society where anything which is nationalist, anything which is, I would say, talking about national integration along with the Tamil identity, I think they have always created a sense of fear in the minds of the Tamil people. The constitution is one for every part of this country, whether it is Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, any place. We have seen in history that any leader in the past, whenever it is talked about outsider-insider narrative, it has always worked for a short amount of time in that particular state, not for eternity, and it has always died its natural death. I feel that time has now come that in Tamil Nadu, there has to be a movement for taking this narrative forward, that the Tamil identity is the nationalist identity, and nationalist consciousness is Tamil consciousness. There is no poles apart about it. And this is what I feel, whether it is Bharatji, Sriram, all of you guys are trying to go forward, and we need this movement, because till the time this does not happen, you will see forces which are inimical to the country, inimical to the growth of Tamil Nadu. These people will take forward. Rowdyism, women's security has been a very big issue. And it is being an issue in the state of Tamil Nadu. And particularly now, we're coming across incidents where what was promised is not being delivered. And it was only looked as a full promise. Time has come to educate the society in Tamil Nadu about such things. Another thing which is very important, and I would urge this panel to really has the responsibility that somehow take out this fear in this from the people in Tamil Nadu, but which has been perpetrated consciously by the Chakravyuh model of the political parties, particularly the DMK since long, that somehow somebody who comes from outside the state of Tamil Nadu is not considered, his point of view is not considered to be near to the Tamil point of view. I think this is completely against whatever the saints from the state, the great land of Tamil Nadu has taught us and taught this great country. You have seen time and again the Prime Minister quotes about Sangam literature, Prime Minister talk about the Tamil language, and we've seen how, in fact, in my travel also, in a limited travel in the state of Tamil Nadu, I've seen this land is so rich in its culture, diversity, and its dharmic consciousness. And this dharmic consciousness is only the nationalist consciousness. There is no dichotomy about it. Somehow the forces which have been in power in Tamil Nadu, they've created a situation that the Tamil society does not feel proud about its identity, and it somehow thinks that its identity is some divergent from the Indian identity. And their entire politics has been on this genesis. This needs to change. This narrative needs to change. This Chakravyuh needs to be broken, because those so-called neutral and intellects who are in on the payrolls of the political parties and the regional political parties in Tamil Nadu, they need to really understand that. And this is where we need this change to happen. And I feel I've been following the discussions. I have always asked Sriram to help me understand them in English. And he's been kind enough that his team has given me all of this. And whatever I've observed as genesis, I think by facts and logic, this very panel has taken this narrative forward to the people of Tamil Nadu, and particularly to the youth of Tamil Nadu. And this is very, very important. A whole sort of politics had been built, and political social narrative has been built, that somebody who's considered to be a Tamil leader can only be a Tamil leader if he's anti-Delhi. Now, this narrative has to change. Standing for the people of Tamil Nadu does not mean that you are always standing against Delhi, because ultimately all of us belong to this great land of India. And this is what is extremely, extremely important, is what I feel has to change and will change in the years to come. That is it. You have seen that since post 1950, there were a lot of social castes which were given representation in the voice, in the power structure in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu was always considered to be the land which gave voice to the voiceless. Somehow, two regional parties, particularly the DMK and ADMK, their power coalition, their power structures have become such that such STs and such castes have been denied this voice in the power structure and the way things happen in Tamil Nadu. That needs to change. If you see, during the time of MJR, there was, I don't want to name the community, but there was this community which had 45 MLAs in the legislature. Now there is hardly any representation. See the voice of the tribals in the way the things move forward in Tamil Nadu. It's hardly there. Ultimately, if you talk about the Tamil identity, it includes every caste, everything. And that is what has to be taken forward, which has been missing in the past years because of the political narrative which is being fed by the DMK and AIADMK. And it is the Chakravyuh which I keep on talking about. This Chakravyuh is in the media. It is about how a lot of people in this media in Tamil Nadu, which I've seen it even in Bengal, are completely on the payrolls, is what my sources tell and what we observe. They only toe the line of the ruling party in Tamil Nadu, and which is inimical. They never question about it. They always consider that if anybody outside the state of Tamil Nadu, even a person who was born in the state of Tamil Nadu and is living outside, if the person tries to give the viewpoint, they consider that viewpoint is not belonging to the state of Tamil Nadu. This needs to change. That is very, very important because, as I say again, this is not the real Tamil identity. So the duty of the panel here, and I feel that the duty of this dissenting crowd here, which is really trying to revoke the consciousness of what exactly is the Tamil identity, what really the Tamil identity stands for, and how the Tamil identity and the Indian identity is one and the same. There are no two identities. Ultimately, everything subsumes in the Indian identity. That's why we call India as a land of diversity and unity. Unity in diversity. It is not diversity and unity. It is unity in diversity, which means that there is commonality which always binds all of us, and that needs to be taken forward. And I think that has been particularly missing because of selfish political interests of these regional political outfits. So the challenge is to break this media chakravyuh which considers nationalism as anti-Tamil identity, nationalism as something which is not related to the Tamil identity. I am extremely, I would say, disappointed, and I'm numb to hear about reports today that how certain workers of the BJP, when they tried to unfurl the national flag, they were arrested, and there were policemen protecting the wine shops. How is this even possible? This is not what the great land of Tiruvallur and Tamil Nadu stood for. And this is what has to change. And if this changes, that is when the new dharmic consciousness, which is the Tamil consciousness, will go forward to the youth of Tamil Nadu, to the every part of Tamil Nadu. There are 2 points in the state's development. One is economic prosperity. One is economic well-being. The other is cultural well-being. The other is dharmic well-being. Other is about self-confidence, and that is what is very, very important, is what I can say. Economic point of view, if you really dissect the budget and part, you will see that yes, it is because of people of Tamil Nadu that Tamil Nadu has grown forward economically. It has been generating great amount of revenue. It is something which has provided good standard of living for its people. But what about the culture in the rural areas? What about these political parties in the regional political parties using the voters in the rural areas as tools? And you know what happens near to the elections in the state of Tamil Nadu. This needs to change because the Tamil society is a self-confident society. It is a society. It's a society which represents strength, and it's the most, I would say, in the entire country. When you talk about the Indian dharmic culture, the Tamil contribution has been the most dominant and the significant one, and everybody in the entire country should read about it, whether it is Sangam or Tiruvallur, and this is what has to change. And till the time this narrative does not change of the Tamil identity being different from the national identity, it is really the state of Tamil Nadu backward. And I would blame a lot of people in the media in Tamil Nadu who are considered to be close to a particular political party which is in power right now, the DMK. Those people really laying a chakravyuh. They ensure that the TV discussions are in a way. Then comes the television opinion makers. Then comes some neutral voices. They create a chakravyuh where the common person of Tamil Nadu thinks that if anything happens outside, any Tamilian also expresses his view sitting outside in Tamil Nadu who does not understand the state of Tamil Nadu, that is not the Tamil identity. So the challenge, and as we look forward in the 25 years of, and we will complete 100 years of independence, we need to know that a country can only go forward when the economic prosperity takes place. Dharmic consciousness is something which reaches every nook and corner of this country. And for that to happen, it is very important that the divisive forces which ensure that the Tamil identity and national identity are different. Being Tamil does not mean always being anti-center, which is somehow being created in the narrative of Tamil Nadu. That has to change. And when that happens, I can give this to you in writing, that you will see that the great land of Tamil Nadu, the way it is progressing right now, it will progress at a double pace, in the hypocrisy of the politician who ensure that the wine shops are guarded, but a national flag is not unfurled. That will change. That is what has to happen, and that will happen. With that, I will end my opening remarks and would like to again thank. I am here a student and a learner, and I want to learn more from all of you. And I hope that by interacting more with such erudite men on this panel, I can also understand better. I somehow have this craze to understand the politics of South, work there, contribute more, and build that narrative. That was the case of Karnataka also, and in other Telangana. Somehow, I want to really explore more in Tamil Nadu, and that's what I keep telling Sriram too. And I would look to doing so in the coming, years to come. I want to see a flag. I want to see a time where a Tamilian, if goes to place in Uttar Pradesh, and speaks in Tamil, he gets a standing, rousing, response. And I want to see a time where a say person from Uttar Pradesh or Haryana comes to the land of Tamil Nadu, and even if he does not speak in Tamil at that time, but gets that amount of response, because ultimately all of us are one, and this is what should happen. Whether it is the Tamil identity, whether it is in the our every place in this country represents the Indian identity, and that is what I am here to learn, and I am here to learn more from this great land, this culture. But what pains me as an Indian is to see this, I would say, this whole chakravyuh of the media trying to create a situation that Tamil Nadu and the Tamil identity and the is different, and some North Indian identity is there. These North Indians will come and they will, they do not understand the Tamil culture. That is what is worrying for us, because whenever this has happened, nations have become weak, and when nations become weak, you know what happens. That is what I can say. Thank you.